See, Meghan, when she's not invited, she often turns up anyway, and she's just there and stays there. But this time, she obviously didn't dare.
Well, I'm not really surprised at this at all because, let's be honest, Meghan was a D-list actress before she met Prince Harry. And well, their massive break into Hollywood has, in a nice way, it hasn't gone as planned. She's had friends deserting her left, right and centre. She's fallen out with people such as Katie.
Would have made quite sure that she didn't come in. And you can see how her friends are dropping her once upon a time friends who she used very usefully professionally, that don't want anything.
Stars.
She's fallen out with people such as Katy Perry. You know, it's been very wild.
That major Hollywood power brokers are no longer answering Meghan Markle's phone calls personally.
In nothing. And I don't think she would dare go to Oprah and say, look, you know,
That's right, this is coming from...
You don't hear the bomb explode, you feel the pressure change. 1 minute, timelines are quiet. The next, a phrase starts repeating in comment sections like a drumbeat. Bauer has tapes. Not a headline from a newsroom, not a court filing. A whisper with perfect teeth, polished just enough to trend. By lunchtime, everyone's an expert. By dinner, everyone's exhausted. And somewhere in the middle, one question rises above the noise. What do we actually know? The public story fits in a single sentence. A veteran royal biographer is said to be sitting on recordings that could change everything. The private story is messier. No releases, no transcripts, no paper trail. Just a wave of videos promising real talk and inside audio that never quite materializes. That gap, the space between promise and proof, is where the internet does its best magic and its worst damage. If you've watched this couple long enough, you recognize the choreography. A rumor spikes, a chorus insists, it's confirmed. Screens fill with close-cropped clips, dramatic thumbnails, breathless narrations. The algorithm doesn't care what you feel, only that you feel suspense, outrage, vindication, any flavor will do. And every repost ratchets up the stakes until people forget the first rule of every big reveal: receipts or it didn't happen. Here's the fork in the road most audiences never see. Path 1, the tabloid version. It sells you certainty, hands you a villain, and wraps the whole thing in sources say. Path 2, the uncomfortable version. It admits we don't have verifiable audio, dates, or context. It asks whether these tapes are real, whether they're edited, whether they even exist. One path delivers dopamine, the other delivers doubt. In 2025, dopamine usually wins, but doubt is where grown-up storytelling lives. Because if recordings ever do surface, context will matter more than volume. Were they private brainstorming sessions about brand strategy, off-the-record venting that sounds colder than it is, snippets sliced from longer conversations? Without the full cut, tone and intent can be made to say almost anything. The internet loves a smoking gun. Most of the time it's a smoke machine. So why does this rumor feel so combustible? Because it hits 3 accelerator pedals at once. First, celebrity brand building. Audiences are obsessed with the machinery behind glossy images. Second, the royal factor, centuries of protocol colliding with modern PR. Third, parenthood. Nothing ignites opinion like the notion that a family's most private space is being leveraged for optics. Mix those elements, and even a hint of a recording sets comment sections ablaze. And then there's the name attached to the whispers. Tom Bauer is not a random avatar. He's a professional biographer with a reputation for digging, and his books, love them or hate them, land with force. That track record gives this rumor an aura of inevitability. If anyone had tapes, surely he might, but reputation isn't evidence. A legacy of hard-hitting books doesn't equal a cache of secret audio. Until something verifiable appears, Bauer has tapes is a sentence looking for its ending. Behind the spectacle sits a quieter conversation about consent and context. Private talk, by definition, isn't scripted to be fair or kind. People speak in shorthand. They float ugly ideas to reject them out loud. They game out optics the same way a coach runs a practice drill, precisely because they won't run it on game day. A recording of that process, stripped of the "no, that's wrong" follow-up, can look like a blueprint rather than a brainstorming session. That's why raw audio without full context is the perfect accelerant for moral outrage, and the worst foundation for truth. Meanwhile, Another machine is humming, the monetization pipeline. Each new upload about hidden tapes spins off 5 more reaction videos, 10 breakdown threads, 100 stitched duets. Everyone gets a slice of the watch time while the original claim stays vapor. It's a marketplace where attention is currency and certainty is the sales pitch. By the time anyone asks for proof, the sellers have already moved on to the next stall. Here's the part creators don't usually say out loud. You can keep viewers without sacrificing integrity. Give them stakes, pacing, and tension, but make the twist the process, not the scandal. Let them feel the rush and learn the rules. Spell out what would count as real evidence. Date-stamped files, independent forensic verification, on-record corroboration, and what counts as narrative sugar, anonymous DMs, screenshots without metadata, a friend of a friend. That way, when the next rumor hits, your audience shows up sharper, not just louder. Let's map the storm as it moves. First wave, tape rumor. Second, they're panicking. Third, legal Armageddon. Notice how each wave arrives, whether or not anything new is verified. The plot advances because creators say it does. A smart viewer asks, what would we see if this were real? Clear chain of custody. A publisher taking legal risk on the record. Outlets that bet reputations on fact-checking, not views on vibes. Without those, we're watching a trailer for a movie that hasn't been shot. There's a human layer too. Public figures learn fast that silence gets interpreted as guilt, and responses get sliced into confessionals. If they ignore rumors, they're hiding. If they clap back, they're rattled. If they post a family moment, it's staged. If they post nothing, it's damage control. That no-win loop is the oxygen within which speculation thrives. You don't need malice to power it, you just need momentum. So what do we do with the names at the center of this? We can acknowledge the fascination without feeding the fire. We can talk about brand management, media strategy, and the cost of living as a 24/7 headline without turning minors into cliffhangers. We can analyze patterns, timely teases, curated reveals, controlled access, and still draw a hard border at private identities. Lines matter, especially for kids, especially online. Here's a viewer's toolkit that keeps you entertained and bulletproof. Demand receipts. Someone heard something isn't a receipt. A verifiable file with unbroken metadata comes close. Follow the incentives. Who gains attention, money, or leverage if you believe this today? Beware tight crops. If a clip never shows a full timestamp, a complete exchange, or room layout, assume it's telling you a slice, not a story. Clock the timing. Do rumors conveniently land before a book launch, a series drop, or a big anniversary date? Hype has calendars. Separate optics from ethics. Discussing how this will look is crass, sure. It's also what every publicist does hourly. Strategy talks sin, evidence of harm vibes. And if you're creating content, here's the move that earns trust. Own your verbs. Say rumors claim. Unverified posts allege. No independent outlet has published the audio. Keep the pace hot, the language vivid, and the boundaries intact. You'll keep viewers who come for drama and stay for judgment. There's a version of this story I'd love to see. The day receipts exist, not because anyone wants a family nuked, because clarity beats purgatory. If authenticated audio ever sees daylight, then yes, pull it apart. Who's speaking? What's the full context? What decisions followed? But until then, the only responsible cliffhanger is the simplest one. We don't know yet. That 3-word sentence isn't weak, it's rare. It's the difference between being a passenger on the rumor flight and asking to see the cockpit. It's the pause that keeps strangers' children out of your thumbnails. And it's the reason some channels build audiences that last longer than a trend cycle. They tell the truth about what they know and what they don't. So where does tonight leave Harry? With the same paradox he's lived in for years. Silence looks suspect, speaking looks strategic. Either way, the audience will project its favorite story onto a face they don't actually know. And where does it leave the rest of us? With a choice that matters more than we admit. We can reward whoever shouts shocking proof the loudest, or we can reward whoever shows their work. If you've made it this far, you can already feel the difference. You still got your plot twists, your tension, your wait, what beats. You also kept your footing. That's the new bar for high retention in 2025. Hook hard, verify harder. The next time secret tapes start circulating, ask for the metadata before you hand over your attention. If the files are real, the truth won't mind the flashlight. If they aren't, the rumor will evaporate the second you switch it on. Until then, here's the only ending that won't age badly. We'll follow the story, not the stampede. We'll keep the pace and keep the line that says children are never content. And when the facts arrive, we'll be right here, ready to listen to what's actually on the tape, not just what the thumbnail promised.